this response object, and this happens all behind the scenes, so that you don't have to worry about, or the visitor does not have to worry about anything that's going behind the scene. So when the response object is triggered, your browser will prepare your website, or prepare the visitor's web browser, so that the browser is prepared to accept the page. So the preparation occurs also behind the scene. Your response from the server will tell the browser that I'm going to send you an HTML page, so prepare yourself for that. And we are going to do that using the response writeHead method. Where do you find that method? Same way, go back to the nodejs.org and /API. You'll find that inside this HTTP modules documentation, you'll see that there is something called response.writeHead. So this writeHead method is quite interesting, which means you will be able to control your browser, or control the visitor's browser's output. The way the visitor's browser is going to show the output to the visitor, you can control that by using this writeHead method. So we can see something like the writeHead method expects certain parameters. One of the parameters is the status code, then we have got the status message, then again we have got the headers. Now if you want to know about the headers, there is something on top of this page. So here we go. So these are the HTTP message headers, and okay, so let's have a look. So this HTTP message headers actually is preparing the website, preparing the web browser to receive the website. You are not going to see anything in front if you trigger the response object. The response object handles this headers behind the scenes. So it's going to prepare the web browser by telling the web browser that I am going to send in an HTML page. Although we see something like text plain in here, which means plain text message, but we're not going to deal with plain text. We're going to deal with HTML. So this will change as we go along with this example. We will actually change this. So I'm just showing you that this type is going to tell the browser that I'm going to send a certain type of document to your web browser. You should be ready for that. That's what the server is going to tell the web browser of the visitor. So when the visitor's web browser prepares itself to receive a certain type of document, either it be a plain text or an HTML document, it will be easier for that browser to include formatting once the server sends the page to the browser, which means after it has prepared the browser for the page, then the server is going to send in the page by itself, and your browser is going to receive that page, and because it has already got the information about the page, it's going to prepare itself and apply appropriate formatting for that page. So we can have a look. But before we do that, we should go back to the response writeHead code. So this response writeHead method has got the status code, and it has also got the status messages, which means actually the headers. These are essentially telling the these are the way of communication. These are the way of talking, or these are the things through which, or these are the language by which the server is going to tell the browser what sort of page it has got in its storage, what's the length of the entire page that it has got. So it's going to send in all those behind the scenes information to the browser before it sends in the page. So the status code means this green signal that I was talking about in the previous videos. 200 is the status code. Now the green signal means that whenever this server actually receives a request object from the browser telling the server that I need this page, then the server will look for that specific page inside its storage. Once it has got that specific page, then it will be able to use this 200 status code. Status code 200 means, from a server's perspective, it means that it will tell the browser that I have got this page, and I can successfully send this page to you. Now, when we get back to this example, the server is going to tell that I have got this page, then it will send that page. But after you have sent the page, you need to end the communication line in between the server and the browser. So how do you do that? You do that using the response.end method. Now let's have a look at that end method inside the response object. So let's head over to the documentation and let's find this out. And we have the response.end object. Now the response.end object requires several optional parameters, which means you can pass in data, you can pass in encoding, you can even pass in a callback. Now we are going to discuss about the different functions that are used inside Node's application. We are going to talk about callbacks and event, which are the most important functions which are the two most important functions that are used frequently in Node. And the most frequently used function will be the callback function. So the response end, as we go along, we'll see that it can do pretty much magical stuff for us. So let's actually comment this out. Before we comment this out, let's finish up the code. So we are going to tell the browser that we have the page and we will successfully send that page. So the writeHead method expects a status code as the first parameter. So we are going to pass in 200, which means we will tell the browser that we have the page. If we did not have the page, we would have sent in a status code of 404. But because we are not going to deal with that error right now, we will do that at later.